Think you know everything about the hilarious mother-daughter duo from UPN? From mysterious yacht names that predicted the show's end to cast members who were literally replaced for being too skinny. The Parkers harbored secrets that would make even Professor Oglevee's head spin. Discover the bizarre production choices, hidden family photos, and celebrity connections that transformed this Moesha spin-off into something far weirder than you ever imagined. Fact 1. The Professor's Secret Diet History. Professor Stanley Oglevee might have been the smooth, handsome college instructor that made Nikki Parker's heart flutter throughout the Parkers, but viewers got a shocking glimpse into his past that revealed he wasn't always the trim, well-dressed academic we came to know. In a memorable flashback episode, the show dropped a bombshell by revealing that Professor Oglevee was once significantly overweight, completely transforming how audiences saw this central character. The revelation came during one of the series' more introspective moments, when Professor Oglevee opened up about his personal history and the dramatic weight loss journey that shaped him into the man Nikki relentlessly pursued. The flashback showed a much heavier version of the professor, giving viewers a completely different perspective on the character who had become known for his sophisticated appearance and the way he carried himself with quiet confidence around campus. This backstory added an unexpected layer of depth to Professor Oglevee's character, explaining perhaps why he was sometimes so focused on maintaining his appearance and why he took such pride in his physical fitness. The weight loss transformation also provided context for some of his personality traits that viewers had observed throughout the series, including his disciplined approach to life and his sometimes rigid adherence to routine. What made this revelation particularly interesting was how it recontextualized many of the earlier episodes where Nikki would comment on the professor's attractiveness or where other characters would reference his good looks. Knowing that he had undergone such a significant physical transformation added a new dimension to these interactions and showed that the writers were willing to give even supporting characters complex personal histories. The flashback episode demonstrated that the Parkers was capable of surprising its audience with genuine character development, even for someone like Professor Oglevee, who often served as the object of Nikki's affections, rather than being explored as a fully realized person with his own struggles and victories. Fact 2. Countess Vaughn's forced wig situation. When Countess Vaughn stepped into her role as Kim Parker for the first season of The Parkers, she brought her own sense of style and personal expression to the character, including a hairstyle that she felt represented who she was as a young actress. However, the show's producers had very different ideas about how Kim Parker should look on screen, leading to an unusual behind-the-scenes situation that would affect Vaughn's appearance throughout the entire first season of the sitcom. The producers made the decision that Vaughn's natural hairstyle, which they described as an alternative haircut, didn't fit their vision for the character of Kim Parker or the overall aesthetic they wanted for the show. Rather than allowing Vaughn to keep her preferred hairstyle, the production team required her to wear a wig for all of her scenes during the first season episodes, completely covering her natural hair to achieve the look they felt was more appropriate for the character. This decision meant that throughout the early episodes of The Parkers, viewers were actually seeing Vaughn in an artificial hairstyle that had been chosen by the producers rather than something that reflected her personal style or comfort. The wig requirement continued for the entire first season, making it a significant part of Vaughn's daily experience on set, as she had to spend extra time in hair and makeup to ensure the wig looked natural and stayed in place during filming. The situation highlights the level of control that television producers often exercised over their actors' appearances during the late 1990s and early 2000s, when shows like The Parkers were being produced. It also shows how actors sometimes had to compromise their personal expression in order to fit the specific vision that creators and producers had for their characters, even when it came to something as personal as their hairstyle. What makes this particularly interesting is that Kim Parker was supposed to be a young, trendy college student, yet the producers felt that Vaughn's actual trendy hairstyle wasn't suitable for portraying that exact type of character. Fact 3. The best friend body switch. One of the most unusual casting decisions in The Parkers happened right in the middle of the first season, when Mari Morrow, who played Nikki's best friend Desiree Littlejohn, suddenly vanished from the show without any explanation given to viewers. Morrow had been established as a main character and was even credited as a regular cast member, appearing in multiple episodes as Nikki Parker's neighbor and close friend who provided advice and support throughout Nikki's college adventures and romantic pursuits. The abrupt disappearance of Desiree became even more surprising when the real reason behind Morrow's exit was revealed years later. According to production sources, the show's producers made the decision to write out Morrow's character because they felt that the on-screen chemistry between Monique and Mari Morrow wasn't working the way they had hoped. However, the specific reason they gave for this lack of chemistry was particularly unusual and reflected some problematic thinking about body image and casting decisions during that era of television. The producers believed that the friendship dynamic would work better if Nikki's best friend was portrayed by a heavier actress, feeling that this would create a more believable and relatable friendship between the two characters. This decision led them to replace Morrow with Yvette Wilson, who took over the role of Nikki's best friend, though Wilson played a completely different character named Andel Wilkerson, rather than continuing the Desiree character. Wilson had already been established as a beloved character on Moesha, the parent show that spawned the Parkers, so her addition to the cast brought with it an existing fan base and character history. The transition happened so smoothly that many viewers didn't immediately notice that an entirely different actress was now playing Nikki's best friend, especially since the show never addressed what happened to Desiree or provided any storyline explanation for her disappearance. This casting change reflected the entertainment industry's complicated relationship with body image, and the assumptions that producers often made about which types of friendships would appear most authentic to television audiences. Fact 4. Monique's real mother hidden in plain sight. Throughout every single episode of The Parkers, viewers were unknowingly getting a glimpse into Monique's personal life without even realizing it, thanks to a small but meaningful detail that the show's set decorators included in the Parker family's living room. On the coffee table or side table in the main living area, where most of the family scenes took place, there was always a framed photograph that appeared to be just another piece of typical family decor that you might find in any real household. However, this wasn't just a random stock photo or a picture of fictional family members that the props department had chosen to make the set look more lived in and authentic. The photograph that appeared in virtually every episode actually showed Monique's real-life mother, making it a genuine piece of the actress's personal history that became a permanent part of the show's visual landscape. This meant that Monique was essentially surrounded by her actual family, even while she was playing the fictional character of Nikki Parker. The decision to include this personal photograph suggests that Monique had some input into how the set was decorated, or at least that the production team wanted to make her feel comfortable and at home while filming. It also created an interesting connection between Monique's real life and her character's life, since Nikki Parker was also a mother who clearly valued family relationships and would naturally have family photos displayed in her home. For fans who were observant enough to notice the same photograph appearing episode after episode, this detail added an extra layer of authenticity to the show's family dynamics. The consistent presence of this real family photo helped create the warm, homey atmosphere that made the Parker household feel like a genuine family environment, rather than just a television set. Most viewers probably never paid close attention to this background detail, but for those who did notice the recurring photograph, it represented a sweet connection between the actress and the character she portrayed. Fact 5. The college logic flaw nobody questioned. One of the most glaring continuity errors in The Parkers went completely unnoticed by most viewers throughout the show's entire 5-season run, even though it involved the very foundation of the series' premise. The show was built around the idea that Nikki Parker and her daughter Kim would attend Santa Monica College together, along with their friends Stevie and T, creating endless opportunities for comedic situations as they navigated college life as classmates across multiple academic years. However, there was a fundamental problem with this setup that the writers apparently overlooked when they were developing the long-term storyline for the series. Santa Monica College, the real institution that the show used as its setting, is actually a 2-year community college, which means that students typically complete their programs and graduate within 2 years of enrollment. This creates an obvious timeline issue when you consider that the Parkers ran for 5 full seasons, with all the main characters supposedly remaining students at the same college throughout the entire duration of the show. In reality, Kim, Nikki, Stevie, and T should have completed their associate degrees and either graduated or transferred to 4-year universities after just 2 seasons of the show. The fact that they remained Santa Monica College students for 5 years suggests that either they were all failing their classes repeatedly, taking an unusually light course load, or somehow finding ways to extend their community college experience far beyond what would normally be possible or practical. This oversight becomes even more noticeable when you consider that the characters often talked about their academic progress, their class schedules, and their relationships with professors like Stanley Oglevee, who continued teaching them semester after semester. The show occasionally referenced graduation and future plans, but never addressed why these students were taking so exceptionally long to complete what should have been a 2-year program. The writers likely chose Santa Monica College because it provided a recognizable California location that fit the show's setting, but they apparently didn't consider how the institution's actual academic structure would conflict with their need to keep the characters in school for multiple seasons. Fact 6. Bernie Mac's invisible relationship. When Andell Wilkerson made the transition from Moesha to the Parkers as Nikki's best friend, she brought with her some interesting romantic history that connected the two shows in ways that many viewers never fully realized. During her time on Moesha, Andell had been involved in a relationship with Bernie Mitchell, who was Moesha's uncle and was played by the comedian Bernie Mac, who would later go on to star in his own successful sitcom called The Bernie Mac Show. This relationship between Andell and Bernie had been an established part of Andell's character development on Moesha, where Bernie appeared as a recurring character and their romantic connection provided storylines and character depth for both of them. However, when Andell moved over to the Parkers to become part of the main cast, the writers found themselves in an interesting situation regarding how to handle her existing romantic attachments and backstory from the previous show. Rather than completely ignoring Andell's relationship with Bernie or creating some dramatic breakup storyline to explain why they were no longer together, the writers of the Parkers chose a much more subtle approach. Bernie was mentioned exactly once during the first season of the Parkers, acknowledging that this relationship still existed in the show's universe and maintaining continuity between the two series. However, Bernie Mac himself never actually appeared on screen during any episode of the Parkers, making him a completely invisible presence in Andell's life throughout the entire run of the spin-off series. This created a strange situation where Andell's significant romantic relationship was acknowledged to exist but never shown, leaving viewers to wonder about the status of their relationship and why Bernie was never around when Andell was dealing with various personal situations. The decision to keep Bernie as an off-screen presence likely had practical reasons related to Bernie Mac's availability and the different production schedules of the two shows, but it created an unusual storytelling situation where an important relationship existed only in references rather than actual scenes. Fact 7. The Secret Yacht Prophecy. In one of the most clever examples of meta-humor in television history, the writers of the Parkers embedded a hidden message about the show's future directly into the storyline of the 5th season premiere, though most viewers had no idea what they were actually seeing at the time. The episode titled "Till Death Do Us Part" and "Make It Soon" featured Professor Oglevee aboard his personal yacht, which became the setting for dramatic scenes, involving Nikki discovering that the professor's wife was plotting to murder him. However, the real drama was happening in plain sight on the side of the boat itself, where careful viewers could spot the yacht's name painted in clear letters. The vessel was called 110 and Out, a seemingly innocent boat name that appeared to be just another detail added by the props department to make the scene more realistic and give Professor Oglevee's character an appropriately sophisticated lifestyle accessory. What made this boat name truly remarkable was that it served as a hidden announcement about the show's fate, delivered months before the final episode would actually air. The writers knew that the Parkers would be ending after exactly 110 episodes, and they decided to commemorate this milestone by incorporating it into the storyline as Professor Oglevee's yacht name, creating a piece of television trivia that would only make sense in retrospect. This meant that when viewers watched the 5th season premiere, they were actually seeing a prophetic reference to the series finale that would air later that same season. The yacht name, 110 and Out, was essentially the writers' way of saying goodbye to the show and acknowledging that they had reached the end of their planned storyline, even though the characters in the episode had no idea they were delivering this message. The fact that the show's final episode became the exact 110th episode of the series made this yacht name a perfectly accurate prediction, turning what seemed like a random boat name into one of the most subtle and clever pieces of foreshadowing in sitcom history. Fact 8. Shaquille O'Neal's double appearance. Basketball superstar Shaquille O'Neal made not one but two memorable guest appearances on The Parkers, playing himself in completely different storylines that showcased his willingness to poke fun at his own celebrity status and participate in the show's comedic situations. During the height of his career with the Los Angeles Lakers, Shaq became one of the most recognizable athletes in the world, making his appearances on the UPN sitcom particularly exciting for fans who got to see him interact with the Parker family in unexpected ways. The first episode featuring Shaquille O'Neal was titled Sign of the Shaq and aired during the show's 3rd season in 2002. In this episode, Nikki and her best friend Andell came up with an elaborate scheme to infiltrate the LA Lakers locker room, with their goal being to obtain an autographed jersey from the famous basketball player. The storyline played into the show's recurring theme of Nikki's bold and sometimes outrageous plans to get what she wanted, regardless of how inappropriate or unlikely her methods might be. Shaq's second appearance came during the 5th and final season, in an episode where Nikki had written a best-selling romance novel that unexpectedly turned Professor Oglevee into a celebrity and made him the object of women's romantic fantasies. In this storyline, Shaquille O'Neal appeared as himself again, but this time he was part of the chaos that ensued when the professor suddenly found himself dealing with unwanted female attention as a result of Nikki's literary success. Both appearances demonstrated Shaq's natural comedic timing and his ability to play along with the show's humor without taking himself too seriously. His willingness to appear on The Parkers twice also reflected the show's popularity and its ability to attract major celebrities who were eager to be part of its comedic world. These guest spots helped cement The Parkers' reputation as a show that could successfully integrate real celebrities into its fictional storylines while maintaining the authentic feel of the characters' everyday lives. Fact 9. The mysterious invisible friend Shaquan. Throughout the entire run of The Parkers, viewers became familiar with a character who was constantly present in Kim Parker's life but remained completely invisible to the audience for nearly 5 full seasons. Shaquan was Kim's close friend who existed only as a voice on the other end of phone calls, making her one of the most talked-about characters that viewers never actually got to see on screen until the very last episodes of the series. Kim would frequently reference Shaquan during conversations with her family and friends, and audiences could often hear Kim's side of phone conversations, where she would be chatting, gossiping, or making plans with this mysterious friend. These phone calls became a regular part of Kim's character development, showing her social life and giving viewers insight into her relationships outside of the main characters who appeared on screen regularly. The decision to keep Shaquan as an off-screen presence for so long created an interesting storytelling dynamic where she became almost like an urban legend within the show's universe. Viewers knew that Shaquan was important to Kim based on how often she was mentioned and how much time Kim spent talking to her on the phone, but the audience had to use their imagination to picture what this person might look like, or what her personality might be like, based solely on Kim's reactions during their conversations. This long-running mystery finally came to an end during the series finale when Shaquan actually appeared on screen for the first time, allowing viewers to finally see the person who had been such a significant part of Kim's life throughout the entire series. Her appearance in the final episode served as a way to tie up loose ends and give fans the satisfaction of finally meeting a character who had been built up through years of references and one-sided phone conversations. The reveal of Shaquan in the finale was particularly meaningful because it represented the show's commitment to resolving even the smallest details of its fictional world before saying goodbye to the characters. Fact 10. The signature greeting that took over America. One of the most unexpected cultural contributions that the Parkers made to American popular culture was a simple greeting that became so widely recognized and imitated that it transcended the show itself and entered everyday conversation across the country. The distinctive "hee-yee" that Nikki and Kim Parker used to greet each other and their friends became their signature catchphrase, delivered with a particular vocal inflection and enthusiasm that made it instantly recognizable to anyone who had watched the show. This wasn't just any ordinary "hey" that people might use in casual conversation, but rather a specifically elongated and melodic version that Monique and Countess Vaughn delivered with perfect timing and energy in episode after episode. The way they pronounced this greeting became as much a part of their characters' personalities as their clothing choices or their individual quirks, and it helped establish the warm, familial atmosphere that defined the Parker household throughout the series. During the early 2000s, when the Parkers was at the height of its popularity, this distinctive greeting began appearing in conversations far beyond the television screen. Fans of the show started using the Parker family's "he" in their own daily interactions, and it became particularly popular among young African-American viewers who connected with the show's representation of Black family life and humor. The greeting's popularity spread through word of mouth, school hallways, college campuses, and social gatherings, becoming a cultural reference point that people could use to identify fellow fans of the show, or simply to inject some of the Parker family's infectious energy into their own conversations. It represented more than just a catchphrase. It became a way for people to connect with the show's themes of family closeness, friendship, and the kind of enthusiastic welcome that made everyone feel like they belonged. The fact that such a simple element of the show could achieve this level of cultural penetration demonstrated the genuine impact that the Parkers had on its audience and how deeply viewers connected with the characters' way of expressing joy and affection. Fact 11. The DVD release that took 12 years. Fans of the Parkers experienced one of the longest waits in television history for an official DVD release of their beloved sitcom, enduring more than a decade of hoping and requesting before they could finally own complete seasons of the show. When the Parkers aired its final episode on May 10, 2004, viewers naturally expected that DVD releases would follow within a year or two, as was typical for popular television series during that era, when home video collections were becoming standard for successful shows. However, years passed without any announcement of DVD plans, leaving devoted fans to rely on reruns on various cable networks or unofficial recordings to revisit their favorite episodes featuring Nikki and Kim Parker's college adventures. The absence of an official release became particularly frustrating because many other UPN shows and similar sitcoms from the same time period were receiving DVD treatment, making the Parkers' unavailability seem especially puzzling to its loyal audience. The long-awaited release finally materialized on March 18, 2016, when Visual Entertainment released The Parkers, the complete collection in Canada as a Region 1 DVD set. This comprehensive collection included all 110 episodes from the show's 5-season run, packaged in a 14-disc set that gave fans everything they had been waiting over 12 years to own. The timing of this release meant that many original viewers had grown up, graduated from college themselves, and possibly started families of their own during the years they spent waiting to purchase their favorite show. Some fans had given up hope entirely that an official release would ever happen, making the 2016 announcement particularly exciting for those who had remained patient throughout the extended wait. The Canadian release through Visual Entertainment represented the first and only official complete series collection, making it a particularly valuable item for collectors and fans who had spent more than a decade requesting this exact product from various entertainment companies and online retailers. Fact 12. Countess Vaughn's real pregnancy cover-up. During the 4th season of The Parkers, Countess Vaughn faced a personal situation that required careful coordination between her real life and her role as Kim Parker, creating behind-the-scenes challenges that the production team had to navigate while keeping the show's storylines intact. Vaughn discovered she was pregnant and remained pregnant throughout most of the fourth season filming, which meant that the costume department, directors, and writers all had to work together to conceal her changing appearance from viewers who were watching Kim Parker's college adventures. The pregnancy presented unique difficulties for a show like The Parkers, where Kim was supposed to be a carefree college student whose storylines typically revolved around dating, friendship drama, and academic challenges, rather than adult responsibilities like motherhood. The production team employed various creative techniques to hide Vaughn's pregnancy from the camera, including strategic costume choices, careful camera angles, and positioning her behind furniture or other objects during scenes to obscure her growing belly. Despite their best efforts to work around Vaughn's pregnancy during the fourth season, the situation became more complicated as they moved into planning for the fifth season. The showrunners realized that it would be extremely difficult to continue hiding her pregnancy or to incorporate a pregnancy storyline into Kim's character without fundamentally changing the direction of the show and the dynamics between the characters. Their solution was to temporarily write Kim Parker out of the first few episodes of the fifth season, giving Vaughn time to have her baby and recover before returning to her role. This meant that viewers who tuned in to the season 5 premiere found themselves watching episodes that focused primarily on Nikki and the other characters, while Kim was mysteriously absent from the action. The decision to write out one of the main characters for several episodes at the beginning of a season was unusual for the Parkers, which typically kept its core cast together throughout each season, making this pregnancy-related absence a notable disruption to the show's normal format. Fact 13. The record-breaking Black viewership. The Parkers achieved something truly remarkable in television history by maintaining its position as the #1 most-watched sitcom in Black American households throughout its entire 5-season run, a feat that demonstrated the show's incredible staying power and cultural significance within its core audience. This consistent dominance in the ratings among African American viewers was particularly impressive given the competitive landscape of television during the late 1990s and early 2000s, when multiple networks were producing content specifically aimed at Black audiences. The show's ability to hold the top spot for 5 consecutive seasons meant that it successfully competed against established hits, new series launches, and programming from major networks that had significantly larger marketing budgets and broader distribution. This achievement was especially noteworthy because The Parkers aired on UPN, which was a smaller network compared to ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox, yet the show managed to capture and maintain viewer loyalty in a way that bigger networks often struggled to achieve with their own programming. The record-breaking viewership numbers reflected how deeply The Parkers resonated with Black families who saw their own experiences, humor, and relationships reflected in the Parker family's adventures. The show's portrayal of a strong mother-daughter bond, the challenges of returning to education later in life, and the everyday situations that arose from their unique living arrangement, struck a chord with viewers who felt genuinely represented by the characters and storylines. This sustained success also demonstrated the importance of authentic representation in television programming, as Black viewers consistently chose The Parkers over other available options, because it offered characters and situations that felt genuine rather than stereotypical or forced. The show's writers and producers created storylines that acknowledged the real experiences of their target audience while maintaining the humor and heart that made the series entertaining for viewers of all backgrounds. The 5-season streak as the top-rated sitcom among Black households established The Parkers as a cultural touchstone that went beyond simple entertainment to become a shared experience for millions of families. Fact 14. Queen Latifah's celebrity guest appearance. Queen Latifah brought her star power to The Parkers as one of the most prominent celebrity guests to appear on the show, joining an impressive list of famous personalities who were willing to step into the Parker family's comedic world. As a multi-talented entertainer who had already established herself as a successful rapper, actress, and television personality by the time of her appearance, Queen Latifah's presence on the show represented a significant coup for the UPN sitcom, and demonstrated the level of respect that the Parkers had earned within the entertainment industry. Her guest appearance was particularly meaningful because Queen Latifah had already become known for choosing her projects carefully and for supporting content that portrayed African American experiences in authentic and positive ways. The fact that she agreed to appear on The Parkers suggested that she saw value in the show's approach to comedy and its representation of Black family life, lending her credibility to a series that was already beloved by its core audience. The timing of Queen Latifah's guest spot came during a period when she was expanding her acting career beyond her music roots, taking on roles that showcased her range as a performer and her ability to connect with audiences across different mediums. Her appearance on The Parkers allowed viewers to see her in a more casual, comedic setting, where she could interact with characters like Nikki and Kim Parker in ways that felt natural rather than forced or overly promotional. Queen Latifah's willingness to guest star on the show also reflected the strong networks and relationships that existed within the African American entertainment community during the early 2000s, where established stars often supported newer or smaller productions that were creating opportunities for Black performers and telling stories that resonated with Black audiences. Her presence on The Parkers helped elevate the show's profile and demonstrated that major celebrities recognized the quality and cultural importance of what Monique, Countess Vaughn, and the rest of the cast were creating with their portrayal of the Parker family's adventures. Fact 15. Kim's academic failure success story. In one of the most unconventional character endings in sitcom history, Kim Parker's journey concluded with a twist that defied traditional expectations about college success and career achievement. After spending 5 full seasons as a student at Santa Monica College, attending classes, dealing with professors, and navigating the social aspects of campus life alongside her mother Nikki, Kim ultimately failed to graduate from the institution that had been the central setting for the entire series. This academic failure might have been portrayed as a devastating setback in most television shows, but the Parkers chose to present Kim's situation in a completely different light that challenged conventional ideas about what constitutes success. Rather than treating her inability to complete her college degree as a personal tragedy or a source of shame, the show's writers revealed that Kim had discovered her true calling and achieved remarkable success in the fashion industry as a designer. The decision to have Kim fail out of college while simultaneously becoming a successful fashion designer sent a powerful message about alternative paths to success and the importance of following one's natural talents and passions rather than forcing oneself through academic programs that might not align with individual strengths. Kim's story suggested that traditional educational achievement wasn't the only route to a fulfilling and prosperous career, especially for someone with creative abilities and entrepreneurial instincts. This ending was particularly bold because it occurred during an era when college graduation was increasingly viewed as essential for economic success, making Kim's story a refreshing departure from the typical narrative that equated academic achievement with personal worth. The show demonstrated that Kim's time in college, while not resulting in a degree, had still provided valuable experiences and relationships that contributed to her overall growth as a person. Kim's transformation from a struggling student to a successful fashion designer also reflected real-world examples of creative professionals who found success through talent, determination, and practical experience rather than formal academic credentials, making her fictional journey feel authentic and inspiring.